Darlington with the Seahawks all week. Sal Paolantonio on the Patriots. A lot to get to for both teams, but first, all eyes are on Patriots quarterback Drake May, who was limited in practice last week with a shoulder injury, missed Friday's practice due to illness. So, Sal Pal, embedded with the Patriots this week, what's the latest on Drake May?
Yeah, let me get you up to date, Dan. The Patriots are going to Stanford University, Palo Alto. Practice time temperature here in Northern California, 64 degrees. We're going to round up to 65 degrees, so it's going to be a real nice day for the Patriots to practice. And we're anxious to see how much practice Drake May has today. Unfortunately, no pool reporter at practice today, and no practice or injury report from the Patriots until Wednesday. So we won't really get a true update about his shoulder for 2 days. Same for Robert Spillane, their middle linebacker who left the AFC Championship game with an ankle injury. As everybody knows, Jack Gibbons had the green dot put on his helmet in the middle of that game and did a great job taking the signals in from Zach Kerr, who called the defensive signals in that game and did a brilliant job against the Denver Broncos. So 2 injuries we're monitoring today and on Wednesday on offense and defense for the Patriots. Now here's Jeff Darlington with the Seattle Seahawks.
Well, Sal, what an interesting weekend for Seahawks offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak, who interviewed with 2 different jobs, the Las Vegas Raiders and the Arizona Cardinals. He is expected to take the Las Vegas Raiders head coaching job. Then he went ahead and flew to San Jose here to get ready for the Super Bowl. But so interesting what Kubiak is dealing with here. Now, he is fully focused on the Super Bowl. One of the things that the Raiders really loved about him is his ability to transition in the middle of this season from being a very pass-centric offense. In Week 11, Sam Darnold throwing 4 picks against the Rams, then transitioning more into a run-centric offense that he brings here to San Jose for this Super Bowl. So the Seahawks are going to have to find themselves a new offensive coordinator after this game, but not before it is over. Kubiak expected to be that Raiders head coach, but for now, still the offensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks.
Sam Darnold becoming the first quarterback ever to win 14 games in back-to-back seasons with 2 different teams. Jeff, before we let you guys go, we saw this tweet from you about an earthquake in Santa Clara. I want the people to take a look at this. Little baby earthquakes. First, are you good, or what's going on out there?
I'll tell you what, you know what the best part about that is? I'm in my room. I'm a Florida guy. I don't have to deal with earthquakes. All of a sudden, it felt like a train was passing by my hotel room. You know, I go into fight or flight. I'm feeling it, heart's beating, all this stuff. Walk down to the lobby to get in the car with my companion here, Sal Paolantonio, to head over here. I said, "You guys feel that earthquake?" Sal looks at me like, "What are you talking about?" Okay, this guy doesn't feel earthquakes. Okay, he doesn't feel anything. This guy is stoic, eyes on the prize. I'm sitting here freaking out in my hotel room. Not Sal Paolantonio.
That's a guy that's covered how many Super Bowls, Sal Pal?
34, Dan.
34
32
Super Bowls.
with ESPN. Yep.
He has seen it all and felt every tremor. Thanks, guys. Obviously, we'll have much more with you as the week rolls along. Clint Kubiak, a busy man. Not only is he preparing to call plays in the Super Bowl as the Seahawks offensive coordinator, but according to our Adam Schefter, he's also expected to be the Las Vegas Raiders' next head coach. No deal can, of course, be official until after the Super Bowl, but Clint Kubiak wants to coach the Raiders, and they want him, so we would expect that news next week. Raiders head coach turnover is something.
Annual tradition.
Yes, it's Clint Kubiak is going to be the Raiders' 5th full-time head coach in the last 6 seasons, dating back to John Gruden in 2021. Previous 3 hirings all failed to complete 2 seasons. I guess low bar to clear for Clint Kubiak. Welcome to NFL Live. Dan Graziano in for Laura, here with Field Yates, Jason McCourty, and Tim Hasselbeck. So, Field, we just saw that graphic on the Raiders head coaching turnover. Do you think Clint Kubiak is in a position to change that?
It's going to take some time, for sure. I think the Raiders are now in a position where they're actually aligned with the reality. This is going to take time to not just get back to their winning ways, but to compete in this AFC West division, which now has probably a 4-team race. Like, the 3 head coaches besides Clint Kubiak are well-established, well-respected head coaches. In the case of 2 of them, they've won a Super Bowl previously.
Yeah.
What I like about this more than anything else is the potential pairing. Not potential. It's the eventual pairing of Fernando Mendoza and also Clint Kubiak. One of the quarterbacks that I have used as a comparison for Fernando Mendoza throughout this draft process is Sam Darnold. These are guys who want to hard play-action passes, guys who have all-field accuracy and powerful arms. Functional athletes, not dynamic athletes that you're worried about running the football 12 or 14 times a game, but guys that you can move the pocket with. And as we saw in the national championship game, a guy in Fernando Mendoza that when called upon can do some damage with his legs. That quarterback draw, one of the iconic plays of the past college football season. You've got a young head coach, you've got a young quarterback. There's going to be some self-scouting here right now for the Raiders that we want to get to where the Chargers and Broncos were and where the Chiefs have been for about a decade. But now we're on the same timeline. Last year when you hired the oldest head coach in NFL history in Pete Carroll, you said, we want to compete, and we want to compete sooner rather than later. This hire suggests they're ready to be patient going forward.
And you look at it, you mentioned Mendoza, and you love that pick for, you compare him to Sam Darnold. Now, Kubiak's getting ready to have Sam Darnold play in Super Bowl 60, and it's a guy on his 15. So understanding and knowing what you need to get out of the quarterback on the offensive side of the ball is tremendous, and it's a pairing that you love. I think for the Raiders organizationally, as you look at their roster, there's a lot of shortcomings. So how do they figure out a way to fill that void? Are you able to trade a Geno Smith for something that you can get back? You look at Max Crosby and everything that happened at the end of last year where they were tanking in a sense of trying not to win those games at the end. Crosby didn't take well to that. So is Crosby a guy that you potentially try to move to get more draft picks to try to get more talent? Because what Kubiak's walking into, you have Ashton Genty in the backfield. You have Brock Bowers. Beyond that, the cupboard's kind of empty, and that's also on the offensive line. So how many more weapons can you get for him on the offensive side of the ball? And then defensively, how can you fill some of those patches to go out there and be competitive? Because in that division, you're going to have to do something to hold up with Harbaugh, Reed, and those guys, Sean Payton as well, to try to hold your own.
It's a competitive division, and so the reality is it's going to take time. It's going to need to be patience, and I think that's part of the reason we're looking at a young head coach now versus obviously the point field made about Pete Carroll being gone. And I think the other aspect of it is while we have seen rookie quarterbacks come in and have success quickly, it can also take some time. And so the idea that Kubiak is coming from a tree that is basically a West Coast offense-based tree, a lot of pure progression stuff, a lot of move the pocket play action stuff, something that's kind of been tried and true and proven in the National Football League. I think that there'll be at least an anticipation of a little bit of patience, a little bit of understanding of what they are dealing with now, and that's kind of what this feels like in terms of age of the head coach and move that you'll be making at quarterback.
They'd love to get back to the playoffs and win a game. Last time the Raiders won a playoff game was 2002, second longest active drought in the league.
We talked about all this turnover for the Raiders at head coach. How about this for Clint Kubiak? This will be his 6th different job with a 6th different team in 6 years.
That's something.
He has been well-traveled as an assistant coach recently, rising through the ranks, now settling in, soon, with the Las Vegas Raiders.
Maybe Clint Kubiak and the Raiders a better match than we even realized, given all that change. New on NFL Live from Adam Schefter, Ravens are expected to hire Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver as their new defensive coordinator. Weaver worked for the Ravens from 2021 to 23 in assorted roles and contract extensions with head coach Sean McVay and general manager Les Snead. So McVay has a new contract. He's going to need a new offensive coordinator because Rams offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur has been officially hired as the Arizona Cardinals head coach. Sean McVay asked about that today. He had this to say.
Really happy for Mike, awesome opportunity, and we'll get to see him twice a year now. So happy for him. I did think that this was something that could occur. It never fails. Every time me and my wife go on vacation, somebody's usually getting a head job, and then I'm spending too much time on my phone. But Mike did a great job, and really appreciative of him. And I think I was able to be a better head coach because of the contributions that he and our offensive staff have made over the last couple of years, and we're looking to continue that. Mike was a tremendous contributor to us.
Cardinals have the 3rd overall pick in this year's draft and around middle of the pack when it comes to cap space. LaFleur is going to have to answer a lot of questions ahead of the draft, most notably what the future holds for Kyler Murray at quarterback. Tim Hasselbeck, do you like the hire for Arizona?
Yeah, I think much like, when you look at, the coaching tree that people have been attracted to, right? It's you think we're just talking about Clint Kubiak. It's kind of a similar thing. West Coast roots in terms of the basis of, the offenses that have been run and the experience, that Matt LaFleur has. And so I think, and then Mike LaFleur has. And so I think when you look at all of that, it makes sense. Now, I think that there's going to be some challenges. You had them up on the full screen there. You start talking about who's the quarterback going to be, and then how do you get the quarterback if he's not the guy that's on your roster right now, and Kyler Murray, which is kind of my anticipation at this point. So, yeah, I think it makes sense. I think this is a tougher job than people realize, even though there is some talent there because of what you have to do to try to acquire the quarterback of the future for you.
Yeah, this is a tough one here. So Mike LaFleur is ready for this job. He has been, I think people have had him as a potential head coaching candidate for quite some time. But think about the division he walks into right now. Yeah. The rest of the teams in the division had 38 combined wins this past season. The Seahawks, the 49ers, and the Rams all won at least 12 games. The Seahawks, of course, are playing in the Super Bowl right now. And you mentioned it, Tim. This job is going to be one that's going to require some patience because obviously the Cardinals need a quarterback. And in the worst sort of way, right? Kyler Murray will be behind them at some point here soon. Jacoby Brissett is nothing more than a bridge quarterback for now. Where do you find that quarterback this offseason? They're picking third. They will not be able to draft a quarterback at the top of the draft, or else they will be overdrafting a quarterback at the top of the draft, in my estimation. Is there a trade target? Is there a free agent target? There is no Sam Darnold in this year's free agency class like there was last year. The Jets and the Cardinals, picking 2 and 3, have to be incredibly methodical about addressing this quarterback spot this offseason because while they are buyers, this is not a buyer's market. So I just hope that Arizona is prepared for what could be a multi-year process to get back into the NFC West mix.
I don't want to fast forward past the flex by McVay as he looks like he's in a beautiful surround. Yeah. He talked about being on vacation with his wife and somebody's always getting hired off his tree as if that was just nothing. So congratulations to him and his tree and all the coaches. But as I look at LaFleur, you mentioned it, the quarterback situation is huge. Jacoby Brissett is that bridge quarterback. He's also a veteran in the room. So when you talk about where that next quarterback is going to come from, if it's not this offseason, to me, you roll with the veteran, a guy that people within that locker room will follow behind because he's the guy that was there with Drake May a year ago in his rookie year. He was with Tua Tagovailoa as a young quarterback in Miami as well. So he has a ton of experience being that bridge quarterback or being the veteran presence for the offense. He was also in Cleveland when they had a lot of things going on with Deshaun Watson. So for LaFleur, you look at this offense, Trey McBride as a tight end. Look at what he's just come from with McVay and what they were able to do with all of those tight ends there. How do you find a way to be competitive early on while you're waiting for that quarterback of the future to be available?
In case people are wondering, Jacoby Brissett did sign a 2-year contract last year, so he's under contract for 2026 and an option. And only Matthew Stafford and Drake May threw more passing touchdowns from week 6 on than Jacoby Brissett this year. Pro Bowl week is here. See the league's top playmakers in a 7-on-7 flag football showdown in a fun, competitive format.